What's going on? What's going on? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to the Wednesday show. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew, man. Let's see if we get this together. All right, we got Miss KC. Callie. Fizz the Poet. Aisha. Shantae Coil. Pink True Table. Luis, me, myself, Lapeef J. Welcome to the Wednesday show. What's going on, family? How y'all doing? What it do?
What's the word? What's the word? How you doing?
Happy Wednesday, y'all.
Happy Wednesday, man. 2 more days to go, man. This week is flying by. It is flying by. 2 more days to go. We look forward to the weekend. I know I asked this Tuesday. Any special plans? Anybody doing anything? Y'all celebrate Easter? I think Hink's supposed to be dressing up. You dressing up this Sunday?
No, got an Easter suit ready.
There you are. I was talking about Easter Bunny. Y'all talking about suits. I thought he was doing the Easter egg hunt or something.
We're not gonna pull out the heavy starch.
No, yeah. What they say, casket ready? Biz.
That heavy starch with the crease in the middle.
Yeah.
Salamat, old blindy.
There's nothing wrong with that. Oh shit, what's happening? Anyhow, it's good to see y'all again.
Salamat, old blindy.
What is it? You speaking another language over there, Callie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're speaking Tagalog in the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if you guys haven't already hit that like button, also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Got a great show ahead for you guys. What's going on? Fishing the Fit, BTK, Edward Gilbert, Old Blindy, Isaiah Jr. How are you guys doing? If you're catching this on the replay, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. I am looking forward to this discussion that we have for you guys this evening. All right, so you guys seen the title, Dating as a Choiceful Woman and what it means to live a full life. I know Miss Casey was wondering what that Choiceful Woman slogan stood for. I didn't make it up, man, but people do. You type it in on Google, something will come up about the word choiceful. Mm-hmm. You know what a woman is, so.
Y'all making up new shit every day.
You said, y'all, come on.
Well, no, not you, but you know.
Y'all.
Oh,
people like on the internet.
Yeah. I don't know. We might have to give Viz a title, man, for the night is over, KC. What you think?
Maybe so. We'll see.
Yeah. She got an eye on you, Viz. Got an eye on you, Viz. So.
Oh, that's what that was. My bad. I don't want no smoke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a secret society, man. Secret society. Aisha know what it is. Staying on code, right, Aisha?
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'll come in peace.
Okay. Hope you do. Anyhow, Miss Tracy Ellis Ross, she did an interview with Michelle Obama on Michelle Obama's podcast. So that's where it came from. I am starting to see some clips roll out. So I'm hopped on it pretty early out there. So we're going to go ahead and get it out the way. I'm going to play this clip. We're going to unpack it. I do have a format that I do want to kind of stick to. But I'm going to play the clip and we'll get some immediate reactions. And then we'll go ahead and hop into it. Sound like a plan? All right. Here we go. Here's the clip. Make sure y'all paying attention.
But I do date. And it's a fascinating adventure out there, you know. Mostly, though, I think there's really good men out there. I think to a certain extent, I'm a very unique sort of unicorn of a woman. And so it's going to take a unique person. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, I have really learned how to live my life and enjoy it and not sit around waiting. I was saying to someone recently that I'm one of the first generations of choice and it's not anymore, which really, there was a window and that has shifted. And I do think that that's going to change dating for women so much.
When you mean you've been the sort of the product of choice.
Yeah,
You
like
mean
the
just-
assumption of
yeah.
Roe v. Wade
Yeah.
and the ability for a woman to find her own delight and pleasure
Yeah.
and choice around how she navigates dating or how one would navigate dating. And we're in a different world now.
Right
and I'm
about that.
curious what that will look like. It frightens me for younger girls because of many reasons, obviously.
Mhm.
But even with the systemic protection of Roe v. Wade,
Yeah.
I still was coming up against the cultural norms
Yeah.
of being a choiceful woman and owning my own body and my own choices and what it is that I'm looking for in a relationship and the ability to negotiate in a relationship what it is you want the relationship to be between the two
Yeah.
of you, as opposed to what society says it should be.
Well,
and that's different.
I don't know that we're gonna lose that. I think women, we're used to having a say in our lives.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the whole movement is about sort of reharnessing us, you know,
Sure.
whether is it really about,
And-
you know,
and can that really
reproductive
work?
rights? Can that really work now that women are educated and we're being raised differently? I mean, the truth is that fathers are modernized.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
Mostly.
mostly they are, you know, and if you were to ask the average man, how are you raising your daughter? Because you love her. The average father that loves their daughter wants them to be excellent, you know, and they want them to have opportunity and freedom.
And
I mean,
freedom.
when you think about you don't want your daughter saddle marrying some guy that chose her because he just didn't think about anything else
and
was
who believes
ready
that
at
her
the
body
time.
is his choice.
Exactly. So I don't think a lot of leaders are thinking about that. You
Yeah,
know?
well, and they haven't been asked to, because I think it's not always a context that if it's an area that you don't have to think into,
Right.
But I think there is it is a genuine regular thought process for me.
Let's go ahead and get into it. There's a new archetype in the dating world, the choiceful woman. She knows herself. She doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses. So what does that mean for dating today? What happens when a woman's life is already full and she's not desperate, lonely, or easily impressed? So the question I want to kick off to the panel is this: is modern dating ready for women who are no longer waiting? Is modern dating ready for women who are no longer waiting? I'll start with you. Start with you first, Khalil.
When you say no longer waiting, are you meaning no longer waiting for sex?
No, we're not talking about sex. We're just talking about just waiting. I mean, her cup is full. She's already equipped. She has choices. She can choose to be whatever she wants to be when it comes to relationships. So is modern dating ready for women who are no longer waiting?
Nah, I think I think most of what she said is a cope for when women fail. You know, when you get older in age and just be like, I don't have a man, my kids is grown, nothing else is working. So she can just put it in her mind that, okay, everything is new. I can just live this new life. It is what it is. But a couple things she said is like, she's a unique woman. I think all women is unique women. Michelle Obama actually surprised me because she brought it up like women have always had a choice. Like, this is not a new thing. So I don't know. Like I said, it's just a cope for women, for real. And when she said fathers are modernized, I can understand that. I hear that. I get what she's saying. At first, it made me turn on my face, but I understood what she was saying because I hear a lot of guys say that. They say, oh, I don't want my daughter to be with no bum. Or I would hear a lot of women say, my dad told me not to deal with a certain type of guy and stuff like that, or to get it on my own and not to depend on no guy. And to me as a man, I'm like, wow, your dad, your father taught you not to depend on a man. So I get both sides of the coin, but what Tracy Ellis Ross was saying is she just coping. She's single, old. It is what it is. God bless her.
Okay.
Can I get a clarification by what it means to be a modernized man?
She's saying basically that if your daughter wants to go out to club. You say, okay, go to the club. That's what all the girls is doing. Your daughter has a boyfriend. Okay, let her date. That's what all the girls is doing. That's the gist of it. Of course, there's other things, but that's what I got from it.
Wait, but
So,
I got a question because you said telling the father telling daughters not to date a bum. Like, hasn't that always been a thing since the beginning of time?
you talking about me?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
This is my first
probably
time hearing about this, and I did hear what she said, but again, it's like
I
what
probably
what's
misspoke.
new about it?
I probably did misspoke if I said bum. As far as I just hear women say, I've heard women say, my father taught me not to depend on a man, and I should go get it myself. Not we as men, we know that no woman should deal with no bum, but I've heard women say that my dad taught me to go get it myself, and I shouldn't depend on a man. And as a man, I be like, damn, where did he learn that? So that's what I gather from her saying modernized man when they dealing with their daughters or their children in general.
So the philosophy of how their daughters should date should align with the current times, is what you're saying. It's not that he's a modernized man. It's just that the way he is trying to bestow the philosophy of dating and mating to his child is modernized.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to be, because he may have a wife and he may have other kids, and he'd be like, "Oh, let her go do." Perfect example. I have a niece and she got a boyfriend. I ain't gonna lie. We went to where do we go? We took a trip to Houston. They live in South Carolina. I met them in Houston. Long story short, and but my niece, she just turned 19, but her boyfriend came, and I'm like, what the, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he like 21, but see, I'm like, I ain't like, but see, it's
What, is he dirty?
no, it ain't that he's dirty. It's just me being a father,
It's
man.
odd.
He's not the guy.
It's I wouldn't even say he's the guy or not the guy, bro.
You don't
not
like
going. We not taking you out of town with the family, and if we are, bro, you're not sleeping in the same. And it's all right. I'll put it to you like this: when I got to the Airbnb,
You don't
it
trust
was when I got to the Airbnb, my sister was telling me, she was like, you may have to sleep on the couch because she wanted my niece to have her own room. But at the end of the night, all the boys, like my nephews and then her boyfriend and stuff, is in one room, but she in a room with them. In the morning, I'm like, so you just that's what we doing? She like, my sister like, I ain't got no problem with it. So it's a thing of the
wait.
man just don't want to stir the pot. So the man just like, hey, my wife is, excuse me, my
Yeah,
wife.
I don't
is
agree
cool.
with that, because
I'm not saying I agree with it, but
if your
I
niece
don't agree with it.
if your
Hey,
niece or nephew
like, I
is
do want
coming
to
to
make
your,
sure we kind of stay on topic and we start getting to the other people too, y'all. I don't want to spend too much time on the example that Khalil did. Let's get Casey in there real quick. Casey, what are your thoughts about, is modern dating ready for women who are no longer waiting?
I think that in terms of dealing with women who are no longer waiting or waiting on a man to provide and do things for them, um, it raises the standard. And I think that's very difficult for some people to understand, that a woman can do things and be very independent on her own, have things going for herself, and not be dependent on a man. And I think sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but it definitely raises the standard for what you have to be, the characteristics that you have to have as an individual, outside of you just being a man or a woman. It raises the standard, period, across the board. So I think, is the world ready for that? I can't say yes. Because I think that a lot of men live in a progressive society, but they have traditional values. And they want a traditional woman, and still want a woman that keeps up with this world in this time, in this day and age. And I don't think it goes hand in hand.
Okay. Miss
So,
Callie, what about you? Then we'll go to Viz. Is modern dating ready for women who are no longer waiting? You know, mute just so you know.
I was gonna say, my bad. I was gonna say, I don't think they're ready. I don't think they're ready at all, because at the end of the day, it's the average male isn't making as much because of the cost of living. So, you know, the whole purpose of the woman having her own is that way she will have something to bring. All this talk about what do you bring to the table? I've heard that several times. Again, now we have something to bring to the table, and now we're putting our money where our mouth is, and it's time. Once we require that from yourself, it might be, I don't know, it might be difficult. A lot of people can't, I don't know, but as anything change always has a negative notation to it first, but then after, when people get the use of it, then they go ahead and it becomes a norm.
All right, Viv, same question. Let me go to Aisha.
I'm just confused on how this is new. Like when did people stop having standards when dating? Like when has it been not expected for a woman to be an adult and to have a job and a car and a home? So I'm kind of confused on what what new standard is it that the world isn't ready for?
It's propaganda, bro. I promise it's propaganda. That's what it feel like.
Go ahead, Ish.
Are we speaking back, or okay, we going down?
Yeah. No, it's a question because I'm genuinely interested. Like I thought that it was the norm for women to date men that's not bums, and for women to be doing something with themselves.
I mean, in the traditional sense, I feel like the standard that is needed now has not always been a standard. The standard for a man was to be able to protect and provide, and if he was able to do that, a lot of things were able to be, ignored or surpassed or whatever with women. But now that women have the ability to protect or provide for themselves, however which way you may take that, it requires a different standard to be created. And that standard has to do with a lot of different things involved. It doesn't just have to do with traditional roles. And that's what I mean by a different standard. And I think that most men are used to being able to say, okay, well, I pay the bills and, I do this and the third, so everything else should be good. And that's not always the case with a woman that is already able to do for herself. She's looking for more than that.
So the concept is women looking for more than someone to pay the bills.
Yes.
That's cap.
Why is that? I don't understand how that's new. Like what type of relationship? What type of relationship have people been having if all that they're doing is just the man paying all the bills?
I'm not saying that that's the only thing that men were doing, but if we're talking about traditional values versus modern society now, the traditional value was always that a man should be able to provide and protect. That's it. And a woman should be a caretaker and, take care of the home and all of that, a nurturer. If those aren't the bare minimum standards now or basis now, it leads you to look deeper into a person in their characteristics overall. When that was the primary reason for getting married or being with somebody for a woman, is that, okay, I need somebody that's able to make sure that I'm protected and provide for me. I need somebody that's able to pay the bills and create a stable home for me. Now that that's off the table and a woman has, access to education and higher paying jobs and different things, she has more leeway to look at the other characteristics of a man, because a lot of women, and I'm not saying for any specific culture or background, a lot of women were taught to find a man that has a good job that can take care of a home. That was the basis for a lot of women in their upbringing, because those were traditional roles. Now that we're not focused on traditional roles, it leads you to look at a different standard and thus raise your standards.
But KC,
Yeah.
women's, even if a woman is making 200,000, if what you were saying was true, she wouldn't require a man to make 200,000 or more. She would say, okay, I'm making the money. Can you make me happy in other ways? But when women make more money, usually they tend to say, I want a man that makes what I make or more, because eventually they want to stop working. So it's not, how could I put this? Women feel like in their head that it's changed because y'all have been tricked to feel like it's changed. But when y'all really get with the man that y'all love, y'all want to y'all don't want. Now, if y'all doing something that y'all really, really, really like, y'all may want to keep doing that, but you don't want to have to wake up. Most women don't want to have to wake up at 8 a.m. to go do that thing. They want to be able to wake up when they wake up and do that thing if they feel like it. That's in most women's heads. That's how they want to live their life. So I get what you're saying, but that just, to me, it's false. It's not real.
I'm gonna reply to that point, but I know we got to let Aisha and everybody else give their reasoning as well. I think that when a woman says that she wants a man to make what she makes or more, she wants a partner of equal, basis of her. I don't think it means, oh, that's because she wants to stop working. She wants somebody that is a formidable partner, not somebody that's making off of her. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
You went out for a little bit. Say that last sentence one time.
Hold on, I can't hear because I'm getting a phone call.
Okay, can you hear us, Casey?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. All right, go ahead and finish it up.
Just say that last sentence one more time, Casey, please.
I said that I want to know where you get your understanding that when a woman is saying that she wants somebody that's making equal to or more than her, where do you get that from, that she wants to stop working? Because in my opinion, she's only looking for a man that's making equal or more to her because she wants a formidable partner and not somebody that's looking to use her income for whatever reason.
Okay. In my experience, most women don't want to keep working after they hit about 55, 60, you know what I'm saying? Even if that, I'm really pushing it, to be honest. But once she has a husband and she has a couple kids, she don't really want to work. If she has to, then that's cool. But that's me. That's coming from me hearing a lot of women talk and speaking to a lot of women. They do it because they have to. It's not something that they want to do. If they could have a man that they can trust to take care of the business, they would rather that than to have to go to work every day to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned 55, 60. What's the age of retirement typically?
I'm about 65.
62.
So that would be for men and women across the board, correct?
Yeah, but a lot of times men keep working though. Men are always working. They always have to be doing something. Men are always doing something. You rarely meet a man that's just doing that's just getting SSI. You rarely meet a man unless he's like 90 something, 80 something, like,
Or
and they still
disabled.
doing something. And they still doing something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
This past summer, I had a roofer on one of my projects. He was 72 years old. I was like, why are you still roofing? He's like, I ain't got shit to do. He's like, I could retire, but like, I just need something to do. And this is why I do. 62.
and the
Hello?
thing is,
Most men, in most
Yeah, we
cases,
do gotta get Aisha in there too, y'all.
in most cases, when men retire and stop working, they usually die early. That immediately happens. Now I'm gonna answer the question.
Hold on, we gotta get Aisha in there first.
Well, I ain't answer the question.
I know, but we was going Aisha first, then you. No, well, actually, I think you did.
No,
That's
I
the
had
original
asked KC a question,
Okay.
and then it kept going. But this just seems like we're overcomplicating dating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why we keep adding on all these different things, and it's overcomplicating something that is so simple. We are literally people that naturally interact with each other. It shouldn't be this difficult for you to find one person for you to spend the rest of your days with. So all of these complications that they're adding, all these new words that they're throwing on, this is literally doing nothing but confusing people, because this shit sounds confusing as hell. It doesn't have to be this difficult. And I'm gonna land it there.
All right, let's go ahead and get Aisha in there. And also, too, I know we got a full panel, so let's make sure we kind of keeping it on the 1 minute, 50-second mark so we can kind of keep the conversation flowing. I do got some questions I do want to ask the panel as well, just so we can keep it going. Go ahead, Aisha.
I just wanted to comment on the video because that was a little concerning. I feel like Tracy is how old? 56? I don't even know.
52.
And I always thought she was a lesbian. That's why she don't have I don't know why she keep acting like she like men. That's weird. And it's definitely agenda driven because Roe versus Wade, what does Roe versus Wade have to do with the dating pool? Her and Michelle kept throwing it in there, and I kept saying, what does that have to do with dating? She was literally pushing an agenda. She was talking in circles. It was a lot of word vomit that didn't have nothing to do with it. She was talking about reproductive rights as it pertains to dating. So essentially, what she was trying to say is, don't date a man if he's going with the right, because that's what it's given to me. That has nothing to do with the dating pool. She's pushing an agenda. I agree with Kalal. Women do not want to work. Yes, hooray, we have all these achievements. I haven't met a man that cared. I feel like women do this thing where we are competing with each other at this point because these men don't care. Black women are literally walking around screaming to the top of their lungs that we are the most educated woman. What does that have to do with you finding a husband and creating a family and creating a lineage and creating generations to come? The conversation that they were having does not push the agenda that I am pushing towards. I don't care about Roe versus Wade. I don't care about reproductive rights. I don't know why they were talking about that. I feel like she was being very disingenuous. She's old and she doesn't have a man by choice because she chose her career. She's an individualist, and that's fine. Some women are. Some women choose achievements over emotional stability and family, and that's okay. I just don't happen to be one of them, and I just feel like she was pushing an agenda, and the conversation was meaningless and pointless. Like, I guess they trying to get us on their side, before the next election. They trying to rally women up. I don't know what they're doing, but it made absolutely no sense.
I do got another question I'm going to pose right now. Why do we still think choosing yourself means rejecting love? Go ahead, Drew.
And shout out to Aisha, man, and her wife energy she's spewing on this panel. I appreciate that. Shout out to Aisha. Can I answer the other question, JR, before we segue?
Yeah, you can answer it, but just kind of segue into this one. I do want to kind of keep it moving.
For sure.
We're not going around.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, what Tracy Ellis Ross said was nonsense. The narrative is just ridiculous on so many fronts. This same lady 2 years ago was begging for men to take her out on dates 2 years ago. And now she's talking about she's in a different position. Dating is a new phenomenon. We act like the world that we know as humanity has been doing this thing that we're doing now. It hasn't been. Dating started somewhere in the 1920s. Most of the time, people courted, got married. Women have not been victimized in mass. Women have not been taken advantage of in mass. And pumping, like Coel keeps saying, propaganda, like the fact that you guys have jobs and can own property. Coco Chanel started a fashion house in the early part of the century. Pre-World War II, if I'm not mistaken. She's a woman. So this narrative is nonsense. I think women sometimes come up with these copes to try to make themselves feel better for their crappy choices, because either they weren't chosen, they didn't choose properly, a series of things. That's how I feel about that. And the new question, I don't know where it went, JR. it disappeared. How do we still choose yourself?
This one right here. Yeah.
I think that why do we still think choosing yourself means rejecting love? I think en masse, most of the women nowadays are being raised in fear and not faith. I think that they're being raised not to lean into a village because there is no village. Women have never chosen their own mates. But what's happening is because we've dismantled the family unit and we have no tribes. We got, women choosing what they believe is proper. The fact that I heard on the panel even tonight that a formidable partner would mean that he matches you economically is concerning. And that type of mindset is what I think is making everything kind of dissolve and decay, because no woman has ever been judged on her ability to generate resources or children or have a certain household, nor has any man solely been judged on his ability to earn resources, especially in a modern time. So I think that there's just a lot of conflating messaging, and I'll land it there.
All right. Let's go ahead and get Louisa mistaken in there. Why do you still think choosing yourself means rejecting love?
I mean, I think it's just people who haven't really come to the realization that they don't really love themselves. They haven't really reflected or done the things that they need to do to really love themselves first before accepting love. Um, Unfortunately, we have a lot of people out here who are still hurting. We have a lot of loveless, situations out here. I mean, if you think about it, like, are we really in a loving society at the moment? I think we're in a very lustful society. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything you see from the commercials to movies to TV shows, shit, yeah, I even say the cartoons. Nothing about it is loving. It's very lustful, in its sort of portrayal in marketing. But I think that ability, and I think a lot of people grew up without it, without seeing it, what it looks like. So I don't know if it's necessarily them rejecting love or they just never seen a healthy version of it for them to embrace it in a fruitful way. Like you.
All right. Mistaken. Are women who don't need a man seen as intimidating or just uninterested?
I don't know. I wouldn't say that they are intimidating. I don't think that they are intimidating at all. I think I think men read that as you don't have any space for me, so I'm gonna go find somebody else that does. Um, yeah, I don't think men read it as being intimidated by a woman. Is definitely along the lines of they feeling like they're not that that is not enough room for them to be the man in the relationship when you are not trying to be interdependent. So see, I'm trying to
All
cut
right.
stuff down.
Yeah, I got you. Hank, same question. Are women who don't need a man seen as intimidating or just uninterested?
No, I don't think they're intimidating. I just think they want to be bulldaggers, and that's okay. If that's what you want to be, you don't want no man. You don't looking for a relationship. Then be what you want to be. Be free. Choose what you choose. The 1st of June, y'all be down there at the pride parades and the gathering and do your thing, because it's obvious you don't want a man. And I think Aisha said, Tracy Ross, I think she crossed over too. I don't think she really liked men. I just think she's one who chose to be single because she's not really for being with a man. She wants to be a woman lover, and that's cool. So the agenda she trying to push, she trying to go the Ebony K. Williams route. You know, uh, get a baby, falsely inseminate, have a baby, be a single mother, baby mama by herself. Maybe link up with some other lady later, like Oprah did with Gail King. Yeah, I think that's what's about to happen. She's just pretty much telling her story, getting it out there for any of y'all eligible ladies who's ready for a relationship With a good, strong, independent woman, she's ready for you.
All right. Callie, do men truly want a confident woman or just one confident enough to not outshine them?
I think men want a confident woman. Men like that. They love looking at a woman that's like totally in love with herself, is feeling herself. Of course, not in a way where it's you're purposely trying to demean your partner, but I think most men, they love a confident woman.
What about you, Viz? Do men truly want a confident woman or just one confident enough not to outshine them?
I love a confident woman. I damn near don't even want to approach you if you're not confident.
And why do you love a confident woman, Viz?
I'm a confident man. So for me to be with a woman that's not confident, it's gonna clash every time. I like to walk into the room and people see and feel my presence. So when I walk in with my girl, my wife, she got to match it. So yeah, and for every man, I'll say this too: for every man, that's going to look differently, right? The confidence will show differently. Some men would perceive their woman to be confident because they can wear something skin tight, the chest boosted up, they got the whole you dig on. And for some men, that's what they perceive confidence to be. For other men, it could be in a different area. So that looks differently from man to man. But yeah, me personally, I love it.
I mean, the Bible warns against, self-love that turns into pride and selfishness. Mark this, there will be a terrible time in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves. 2 Timothy 3:1-2. This kind of self-love is distorted, focused on ego and not on God's design. And I think there's a great example of that every single day. There's countless examples of that.
But I wouldn't say confidence is ego, though. I think confidence is different than pride or ego.
Yeah, because
I could see how
pride,
self-love
someone being so to the question. I think men want a confident woman. They just don't want one that's prideful. We don't want a woman whose ego is through the roof. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't even sit and have a conversation with you because your pride is so heavy and entitled that I don't need a man. I can do this. I can do that. It's like, hey, I understand you can do all that. For you to even say that, in my opinion, says a lot. So I think is men aren't intimidated by it at all. It's just the pride and the ego. That's a turnoff.
The propaganda is crazy to me because nowadays women really think, I won't say women, I would say a lot of women really think that men are their worst enemy. They think that we don't want women to be lively. They think that we want women to just be these closed, quiet mice and shells just cut off. And that's not what most men in general want. Now you got some abusers out there that want that, but in general, most men don't want that. And I think the propaganda has came where women have been told that men are against you, men are going to attack you, men don't like you, men don't love you, and women are looking at men as almost like black people look at white people. They look at us as like women look at men as their oppressors. So we want a woman that's confident, and it's not about outshining us. We want a woman that's confident, and that's just gonna match us. That's most men. Most men want a woman that's confident, that's gonna match them, and it's that simple. No man that's in his right mind wants a woman that's closed off and just look like she in a shell. If that's what he wants, he's most likely an abuser, and she shouldn't be with that man. Facts.
But can we say the same thing as the opposite for women too? Because I feel like just like there's that agenda being pushed that like most men don't like women, there's also this agenda being pushed that most women don't like men. I don't know about you ladies, but I have never met, not a single woman that I've met says, I don't like guys, F guys. Like,
Okay, Callie. So I could understand you saying that. But I mean, I've watched this podcast called the Whatever Podcast. I don't mean to give them a shout out on your platform, JR, but they asked women collectively, would you rather be trapped in the woods with a man or a bear? And overwhelmingly, the woman, I've with my own two eyes watched over 200 women on just this podcast say they would rather the bear.
They have never had an intellectual woman on that podcast. And if they
I mean,
have, it was
but
someone that like, because I've seen them. I've seen it come up on my.
But see, the thing is,
my
Callie,
thing.
we can't just say that they don't have intellectual people on there, because everybody in the world aren't intellectual people. They have some intellectual people on there. They have some intellectual women on there, and they just have some average women on there. And yes, they have some bimbos on there. But that's what the world is made up of collectively. You got some intellectual people, some average people, and some stupid people. So I've watched even the articulate ones say that they wanted a bear.
You gotta take into consideration too is that they're all going to be on code. You know, just how the women checked in before the show start. Y'all staying on code, lady? We staying on code.
Mm-hmm.
KC, you know what I'm saying? So I've heard that as well, you know, and so we got to consider the group thing, but
even if
that's a whole other conversation though. But I'm with you. I'm with you on it.
But even if they don't mean it, they still put it out there. So
right.
I don't think men are just getting this from anywhere. I mean, I've tried to get a girl's number and she act like I was just dirty. Like I was like, oh my God, like she made me not even want to talk to another girl again in my life.
But that's just the thing though. So if I literally no shit, like about a year ago, I literally walked up to a dude and I thought he was cute and I asked for his number and he ignored me and kept it pushing. And I didn't sit here and be like, oh, my feelings is hurt. I don't know if I want to approach a guy. Guess what? If I find another fine dude that I want to pursue, I'm going to do the same shit because it is what it is. That's life. You get rejected. You don't just get rejected in relationships. You get rejected when you're applying for jobs. We've been rejected our entire life. So what's the fucking difference? All you're going to do is just keep getting me closer to where I need to go.
I got a question for KC. Does dating get harder for women the more successful and self-aware they become?
Absolutely. And that speaks to a lot of things. I feel like it depends on the type of men that you date and who you choose to interact with. I think that's one thing that makes dating hard overall. And I'd also like to speak to the point that women were not oppressed overall as a unit. And I disagree with that because women weren't always allowed to go to college. Women weren't always allowed to start businesses. The Women Business Empowerment Act didn't start until 1988. So that goes to speak to a lot of history when it comes to women being independent in themselves. Outside of that, yes, dating gets harder with women the more successful they are because that dating pool gets smaller. It's a different, level or category of men that you're choosing to deal with, especially when it comes to finances and financial literacy and understanding. And I can only say that based on my experience as a successful woman, as a woman that has my own business, as a woman that has reached a certain level of success. And I found that it becomes harder depending on, who you're interacting with and depending on what type of man you're choosing to date. But I'm not going to say it's hard overall, but I do think you have to be more specific and intentional about who you give your time and access to, because with anybody, men or women, people could be looking at you as a come up or as an opportunity rather than looking for you, to date, to marry, or for love.
You know, I
So
never really hear.
can I say this one time, Luis? The they see that we got to stop this propaganda because a lot of people don't look this up and they really don't know it. But the only people that weren't able to have bank accounts and run businesses and stuff like that was married women, because all of your debt was accrued to your husband. If you was a single woman or a widowed woman, you could have a business, a bank account, a house, whatever you needed out in the world. You wouldn't just be stranded out there. No. But if you had a husband, all of your debt will be accrued to your husband. To be honest, that's for the best, because the most consumer debt, women have the most consumer debt now because they get in stuff that they don't really need. So back then, if you had a credit card, all of your debt will go to your husband and you wouldn't have to owe it. That's to your benefit, not to your deficit. But y'all go on. I apologize.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was when I made the comment about being oppressed. See, I don't think that not being able to necessarily purchase land or have a business is oppression. I think that in this country, we are a progressive society. I think that our country, if I'm not mistaken, we've always had a family dynamic, a family unit. Life is not designed to be lived as a single person, male or female. So this idea that they've implanted in modern women's mind, or women that exist today, that because you don't get to perform and facilitate business, you're oppressed, is nonsense. You're in America. Like, maybe not mid-century or maybe early, we know there was slavery. We talking when there was no chains. We're talking that when there was no dogs, being sicked on you. You're not oppressed. To be in a relationship is not oppression. It's a benefit. A man is an amplifier. And for whatever reason, they've convinced women that you need to get out here and you need to perform to be perceived valuable. The reality is, in my opinion, a lot of women are insecure. And so they believe that they're going to derive value by performing and being seen. And this is one of the biggest issues I see in our community, because you can't even, have men that look like us a lot of times just be successful without him giving credence to the fact that his success was derived from his wife being there, his woman being there. And I just think this speaks to the decay and the cancer in our mindsets a lot of times. But I'll land it there.
Go ahead, Miss Taken. I know you were shaking your head. Is it the stats that Khalil brought up?
Yeah, because I had looked this up before based on a different conversation a while back, and that is a misnomer that women carry more consumer debt. Men actually do. And if you break it down by category, most women category of debt is typically student loans. They typically carry the higher debt in regards to student loans, not consumer debt. That's all I was going to say, but y'all can check the facts on that.
All right, go ahead, Luis.
Yeah, but that's still debt, though. I mean, despite of if it's credit card debt, or if it's student loan debt, it's a debt.
No, it doesn't.
It affects your credit score.
Yeah. Well,
medical debt, y'all have higher medical debt. Y'all, I mean, all of it's still.
Well,
debt.
the thing is that sorry,
you know how you have good debt
thing,
and bad debt. So, only thing I was speaking to was the comment that women carry more consumer debt. My response to that was no, they do not. Men typically carry higher consumer debt. Women typically carry more student loans.
Yeah,
yeah, categories. That's it. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to even argue about it, but go ahead.
No, Miss Taken is totally correct. Miss Taken is totally correct. That's due to them having higher incomes and them having more mortgages and auto loans and stuff. But Miss Taken is correct. I was wrong when I said consumer debt was more on a woman. She got it.
All right, but go ahead, Luis.
So does dating get harder for women the more successful and self-aware they become? You know what's always lacking in these conversations when we have these kinds of talks? There's never talked about the character of this man. Is he lazy? Is he ambitious? Does he enjoy working? Does he enjoy being around people? Is he punctual? Is he responsible? Does he have the willingness to learn? I think we all have and possess amazing talents, and sometimes we just haven't tapped into them. People have, and some people have other talents that they have never explored. Sometimes being aligned with the right person brings those things out of, like, hey, I've noticed that you're really good with this. Have you ever considered this? Hey, I could really see you doing this. Like, let's talk about this a little bit further. And they just pull the greatness out of you. They like encourage you or push you to that edge where they make you get out of your own perception and align and see things from their perspective. And you will start to see people kind of blossom little by little, because all it took was to take off the blinders and they see a whole new lane, right? That gap of possibilities. And I think at times when we talk about these things, we don't talk about those other inherent qualities of people or partners or potential partners that show up, where all the money and all that other stuff that comes, that will come, trust me. Like, there's ample opportunity out here, but when you're doing it with the right person and your vision and their vision align, it doesn't matter if you're up or down different, right? Look, I had a professor in college who was making about 150, and this was back in like '08, '09. And his wife, who was an engineer, mind you, this guy is a civil engineer and an architect. His wife is an engineer. She works for MIT. She was making about 325, 150, 325. Both making six figures, both making really good money for that time period as well, right? Would you label that man less than? I mean, he works in the profession. He's also a college professor. He makes good money. His woman is just fortunate to be in the profession where opportunities had opened up for her, and she's in a posh situation. Doesn't mean that that man is less than, and they work amazing together. He paid for all his children's college education. They made a deal. The woman would take care of all the household and all this other stuff in terms of finance. All his money went to paying for their children's college fund. Their kids went to college, graduated. None of them came out with any debt. All moved on to live prosperous lives and start their own family. And now all the money that he makes freely after he did that goes to him in whatever situation they've set up. But there's a conversation to be had. We're not willing to have that kind of conversation. We're willing to think that that person is less than because they make less than their other partner, in this case, a woman, right? Not understanding the intrinsic value that they have. Because at the end of the day, you can't take any of this stuff with you when you're gone. All that shit stays. Somebody else gets to enjoy it. But you know what remains is all those memories that you left behind.
But the thing about it, they only care about provision and protection. They don't care about the other thing. That, I mean, like I said, the dude can be an asshole, whooping ass every goddamn night, as long as he paying the bills and he protect him. He fighting off the neighbor when he trying to come over and get at her, but then at the same time he putting hands on her. You don't care because he's an asshole, because he got the money, he got the bag.
I say that's false.
And I think
I
that
don't.
speaks to my original
but
point.
you need to worry. You also need to worry about him providing for you mentally, emotionally,
Exactly.
not just physically only. Which I don't care about that. As long as you get the bag, he keeps me safe. He pay all my bills. He does everything that he needs to do. Yeah, that's crazy work. I don't understand it, but that's what it is. When you hear them women, oh, they was doing wrong by just telling them, get a man where as long as he got a job, he could take care of it. If that's all that these women was taking, they was telling them wrong back then. So your grandmothers and your great grandmothers, they were some dumbass heifers. They told you wrong then. If that's the only thing you looking for in a man is protection and provision, that's it, then they the fools. Shame on them for teaching you that bullshit, because it should have been more that you should have been looking for in a man. You should have been looking for a man who's going to make you physically, emotionally, and mentally safe. Make sure he provides it all type of way. So when y'all women go off the rails, when y'all mentally go off the rails and act foolish, that man can reel you back in. He could calm you down. He could, hey, come on, baby. It ain't that serious. When he see you about to get into an altercation with another woman, because she beat you to that purse before you did. Baby, it ain't anywhere. Let's go get this other style. I like this other style more so on you anyway. That's what they want. They want that other thing. So, Jay, what's your question? I know you had a question going across.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to answer that one.
I was gonna kind of move it on, and I'm gonna come to you.
We can do that.
Yeah. Let me get to these couple of super chats real quick, and then I'm gonna play a clip, and I'm gonna go to Aisha, Viz, then Hink, and then everybody else can chime in after they get into it. Advanced Perception $5 says, regardless of how much money they make, women want security, physically and financially. They want to be taken care of by a man. Brandon Nesbitt with the $2 says, W. Hinkulus. There you go. Thank everybody that's contributed to the platform thus far. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I believe the likes are low, so if you haven't, all I'm asking for is you just to hit the like button. I'm going to play this clip. It's another one from the episode, and then I got some questions. I'm coming to you first, Aisha, so make sure you are alert and attentive.
I mean, we've talked about this, that often I date younger men. And a lot of it is because...
Let's stop on that, folks.
Oh my God, we had a great dinner. We had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, but why? And I said, well, maybe because I can.
Yes, Parish. This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracy's...
It's fun. It's very fun to share.
Tracy Tales.
But
you date a younger woman.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Because I want a partner. And so often, and it's not just that I'm older, I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous?
There's that.
There's that. But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks. And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize, and I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
I'm sorry.
No,
Craig.
I was going to say, so it's a generational thing. So it didn't matter how you met them, or is it just kind of the guys you're meeting?
That's obviously
too big of a generalization.
It's a generalization, but because I have dated men my age, there is a difference. There is an openness that occurs with a younger man around whether it's gender fluidity or not even having an issue with homosexuality. I mean, something as basic as that. That there's times where I'll be, sitting across the table from somebody and just like, what did you just say?
Yeah, what century are you?
Like, oh my God.
Where's your horse and buggy?
Yeah, like, I'm so sorry.
And your bedpan.
Yeah, for real.
Chamber pot.
Yeah, your chamber pot. Your chamber pot. Like, where I'm just like, this is not a match. And I have long been past the age where I feel like it's my job to teach somebody or grow them up.
Yeah.
That I'm not interested in. So, but it's interesting. I mean, there's so many different philosophies on dating, and I have come up with mine. I have come up with what works for me and what makes sense for me and what feels safe for me.
Yep.
Aisha, why are so many choiceful women dating younger men, and what does it say about older men?
I think that all of the women that I know that dates or are married to younger men, it's because they control them and because they normally have the upper hand. Most of the time, it's a sugar mama situation, to be transparent. And most of the women that I know that date younger men, they are very aggressive women. And I think that the younger men see them almost like mama figures. I think that a part of what Tracy said is true. The younger generation are more liberal and they're more accepting of things. Older men ain't going. She not finna take this older man to one of these Hollywood parties and he be okay with what's going on. A young man don't care. He just want to be in the house. An older man gonna stand on what he stand on. She said that she don't want to be a prize. What woman don't want to be a prize? That right there, that statement doesn't even make sense. And then in the same sentence, you said I want a person. I want a man. No, you don't. You want a young boy that you can control and that will conform to your lifestyle. That's what you want. And you're not finding a grown man just because your name Tracy Ellis Ross. You think you want some men to bow down to you. Older men, they don't care how much money you make. You're still their woman. So yes, you are sort of or less a possession. You're gonna sign a contract, you belong to him, he belongs to you. But she doesn't want that because she's Hollywood. I think that they live a different lifestyle.
Aisha, just call a thing a thing. They want a bunch of cockholes. That's what they want. I'm going out. I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm taking Larry with me. I left you TV dinners on top of the stove and some Mountain Dew. I'll be back by 11 o'clock tonight. All right. And then this weekend, we're going to this orgy party, and I'm gonna participate. Just don't bother me too much. It's all about control. It's really, I want to live this lifestyle. I want to move this
Who is
way.
Cher
I
with?
want to
Isn't
do
Cher like 75? I think Cher's like 75.
nothing
Cher's
she
like
talked
75
about.
years old. And she probably walking them men around in a dog collar. I'm convinced. Cher is having the time of her life with that young man because men of a certain age, it just don't work. I don't care how many honey packets they try to take. I don't care. And that matters to an older lady. She
I
needs
don't care.
to get it. And I think that's a big deal. When you have money and you're that successful, you can literally be like, I don't want to deal with you old niggas. Okay? So I'm gonna go get me somebody young, somebody sprout, somebody that ain't wearing church shoes to every function. I mean, I can see it both ways. Like, but I do think it's mainly control and them not wanting to conform or be submissive. They don't have to do that with those young guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're not requiring nothing of them.
Viz, is dating younger about energy or just abs and less emotional baggage?
This is crazy. Your question, I would say it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both. Just by default, somebody younger, they're going to be more fun, more with the shits. And that goes for men and women. That's why I don't understand why it be so much pushback when a guy says that he likes younger girls. Same reason why women like older guys, or younger guys rather. So I think that it's a little bit of both, of where I know you don't have as much baggage that you're going to bring over here, and we're going to have some fun. So who doesn't want to have fun?
Ow.
Go ahead, Hank.
Hey man, shout out to Cindy Lauper. The girls want to have fun. You know how that goes. Let me look. You need to look at this shit, man. She talking about she want a man. These younger men are gender fluid. You know why these younger men? Because these younger boys are gay. Let's be honest. These young boys out here sucking dick, and she want that type of man in her life, and that's what she needs. She got the bull dagger attire. She got the straight backs. She got the prison look. Just got out of the. Just got finished seeing a parole officer. Dude, something wrong with her. Why does she keep talking about this alternative lifestyle shit, man? Look at her. Just got out of the pen.
Hey, she got on that set it off outfit.
Come on, man. Look, she look like she out on work release. She out on work release, man. She got to go report her PO tomorrow. She gonna have to pee. She got to pee for the PO tomorrow. This is crazy, man. I just don't. Hold on, Viz. I don't understand why she's pushing this agenda she's pushing, man. Why is she doing this, man? Because that's the lifestyle she want to live. Like you said, she's in Hollywood. She want to do her thing, be happy and free, and want to go to Diddy parties when he gets released too. and just have a good time, man. Now, as far as dating younger, look, I got to agree with Aisha. I mean, I think the ladies that do date, I think they want to control them, just like the men who date younger women want to control them. That's exactly what it is. It's sugar daddies and sugar mamas. They want to be able to control and tell them what to do and dictate how they move and operate. That's what they're doing. So when I see some people that young, more likely that's what it is. Maybe a midlife crisis kicked in. He want to feel like he still got it, so he gonna get a young girl. The chicks want to go see if they get some of them young boys and turn them out. So I'll leave it there.
Go ahead, Will.
I'm gonna say one thing. I think that what's important is this agenda does not help us in the community. Like when you see celebrities get up and start talking about stuff that makes no sense and is an agenda based, that does not help us in the community. It doesn't help us build businesses. It doesn't help us build families. It doesn't help us do any of those things. So you have to ask yourself, why are they publicizing it? That's all I gotta say.
The thing is, I ain't gonna lie, I was wondering what Michelle Obama's podcast was for the whole time. I'm like, dang, what is she doing with this podcast? Like, what's going on here? And I haven't watched any clips at all. I just have been seeing people talking about it. But after seeing these clips, I see what she's being used as a pawn, but I don't know by who, but she's being used as a pawn to push this propaganda, even with the things that she's been doing with Barack, with not showing up to the funerals, coming out recently saying she just want to be her, she trying to be her own person, not even confirming nor denying the divorce, but just saying that she wants to be her own person. His legacy has nothing to do with hers. It's shocking to see how blatant and how upfront they are about it. And like Aisha said, it's not helpful to our community. And like Aisha said again, you gotta wonder why. So that's all I want to say is I've been wondering why, what her podcast, what the purpose was. I see now.
It's really sad to see a Harvard educated woman stoop to such low vibrational conversations that don't even push the needle.
She took that check.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Why do we assume being single equals being incomplete?
Because
you feel that
God made man and woman.
I was about to say, there's two. Like, you could try to be, let me tell you this. You could try to act and play and be like, oh, yeah, I got this. No, because the second a fine ass dude comes slanging around your corner and he got everything you want, you're going to fall right back on down. I'm dead ass. Nobody is going to be on this earth and be like, oh, yes, God, I was single my whole life. Oh, gee whiz. No one's gonna do that. Everybody wants to be with somebody. And it'll get to a point where just like you get tired, right, of dating, where you're like, man, I just need to take time for myself. But at the end of the day, you do not want to die without a partner. No one.
You feel incomplete. Being maybe not younger, but once you get older, you know what I'm saying, 30s, maybe late 20s, 30s, mid-30s, whatever, you feel incomplete. So I don't think people assume it. I think that just comes from the natural feeling of people knowing how it feels. Because I ain't gonna lie, I'm single. I'm 31, about to be 32. I feel, even though I have kids and I'm active in their life, I just feel incomplete without having a woman. You know what I'm saying? I was just saying that the other day to myself, but it just be like that. And I'm complete as a man for sure. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just speaking about in my life in general. Like, it's still more to do. Like, I want to share it with somebody. Like, you know what I mean? All right.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. This next question I got for the panel, let me just put it on a ticker. Do we shame women for not prioritizing marriage in a way we don't shame men?
Yes.
Go ahead, True.
Absolutely, we do. I was just telling my mom this the other day. If a woman makes it to a certain age, and she's single and ain't got no man, something wrong with her because she has a vagina. Getting a man is simple. She don't even got to be smart. I think Louise said it earlier. Harvard grad. We don't care about none of that. That means very little when it comes to the exchange of relationship. But yes, we shame them, and I think we need to continue to shame them, not from a way of being aggressive. I just think that they don't understand how much value comes from that exchange. Your previous question, I think, tied into this one, at least in my opinion. There is a completeness that comes with being in a relationship. I would argue that no person can be their maximum self, their optimal self, single, because there's things that you learn. A relationship is a reflective thing. So what you assume you are like as a single, being your own judge, your own jury, will be very different when you get a relationship, because that person has a different set of eyes, a different vantage point, a different emotional temperament. And that's both male and female. In my opinion, to be your best self, you need a relationship, whatever magnitude you want that to be, whether long-term or marriage. So yeah, I think we do shame them. I think we need to continue to shame them, because if you single out here in these streets and you got a vagina that works, there's something wrong with you. And I'll end it.
I don't think we should shame them. I think we should just teach them. You know, there's other ways you can teach someone something, because you gotta. We talk about propaganda and all this other stuff, but what's also being spread out there is that nobody should be in a marriage because of X, Y, and Z, and it's only for the government. And there's so much stuff being spread about, and I think that it's a lot of them are not doing it because of that. It's mostly because of fear. And if we show them a more positive side of being married and a more positive aspects that can come out of it, typically when you are seeing something good, you're going to want that good. But when you punish somebody for their beliefs, it's going to make them more pissed off. It's not going to make them like, oh man, I need to go. It's going to make them upset, especially this day and age where like everyone is freaking sensitive about everything. So I think the best way to do is just to show them how beautiful a marriage could really be.
I do agree with what you're saying to a degree. I think what happens, that's just my opinion, is that we're talking about our community, and I know I like to use other examples. We can have that mindset in our community because there's not a lot of marriages, right? But there's certain rooms you can't go into. There's certain parties you won't be invited to. There's certain groups you won't be associated with if you were single. Because a lot of families still hold that with a lot of validity. They won't do business with you if you're single. You can't go on vacation with them if you're single. And so I say shame because in this day and age, there is aggressive energy. I do agree that we need to promote it positively, but I think that it probably needs to be a little bit of both. There needs to be some aggressive push, shame, whatever, and then there needs to be some positive examples. But I'll land it there.
If you don't think we should shame, Callie, what do you think we should do?
I just said it. Spread it with love. You know, spread the joy, spread the peace. You know, give someone a reason to look forward to something, right? Like if it's one thing, yeah, you can train people in certain ways. You can train them with more fear. You can train them with love. But I prefer to just train them with love. And I feel that when you highlight things that are great about your marriages, the success about marriages, or even just not just the downfall of a marriage, but the financial benefits you can get from being married. You know, there's so many beautiful attributes to highlight when it comes to a marriage that we just dim down and just keep shoving something that I could open your mouth and shove these words down your throat.
The thing is, I hear you, but they've been doing that since right before feminism. I think what should happen is they should start talking about the bad parts, so people know that, okay, this does happen and you're supposed to stay, and we got 30 years in. They shouldn't forget about the good parts and forget about how lovey you feel, because that's only a moment. People need to know that, hey, it's gonna feel real shitty, but here we are 15 years later and we good. Not
we're already talking about the bad parts, though. We're already doing that.
But see,
the
thing is, people are talking about the bad parts when they're leaving. They're not talking about the bad parts when they're staying together. We're here about the bad parts, about the people who left.
That's McCoy. That's the worst part of it. That's the worst. It gets no worse than that. Divorce can get no worse than that. That's the worst you can It's like you said, we've been talking about the negative. Look, let me say this, man. Most people don't want to get into it because they don't want to. They're selfish. Let's be honest. Most people are selfish. They don't want to do the work. You got to put your hard hat on and go with your lunch pail every day, 24, 365 days. There's no off day in marriage. There is no off day. Ain't no I'm gonna take a vacation. No, it's 24/7. You marry. You gotta be ready to put that work in. And most people are too lazy and selfish to put that work in. They not ready to do it. So you know what they ready to do? I'm just gonna shack up and play house. I'm ready to do that. So in case we deal with some adversity, I could easily pick up and move out, and with no consequences, no backlash, no nothing.
But now you're making my point though. Like I said, it comes with trials and tribulations, and if people keep talking about the good parts, nobody's going to know that it comes with trials and tribulations. We hear about the trials and tribulations, but that's only from people that left. Of course, people need to know about divorce and how bad it can be, but people need to know that we went through this bad thing that somebody could have got a divorce from, and we stayed together. That's the point. Because you think that now in 2025 that people are just going through these things. No, people was going through this stuff 50, 60 years ago. They just decided to stick through it, whether it was for the family or because they didn't have nowhere to go or what.
Hey, Khalil, how long do you think that the traditional vows has been around? When people get married, those traditional vows that people take.
A long time. I don't have the initial. I'm not looking it up right now, but I could. But
with that being said, we've been told that you're making this commitment through better or for worse, through sickness or through health, through riches or through poor. That's all. That sums it all up right there. There's nothing.
No, it doesn't. Those are just words. And if people,
those aren't words.
And if we only hear bad stories,
hear me out. The very things,
I agree with
very
you.
things, literally tells you what to expect in this relationship.
I agree with you, but we're talking about two different things, though, bro.
Well, no, it's not. So you're saying to highlight, because basically that's what people are doing now.
You're still talking about.
Let me finish, bro.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
People are now highlighting all of the cons, all of the worst things that can happen in a marriage. She can leave you. She not gonna give you sex. He gonna abuse you. He gonna do this. She gonna do that. That's all that people talk about now. So I think that's not doing any justice to anybody.
I agree, bro. That's not what I'm talking about.
That's why the black community, we get married at a 30% rate right now, and it's expected to be 16%.
Okay, so is my internet working well?
If we keep doing what we're doing, that's not going to help anything.
I think
the thing is, hold on, right quick, True. The thing is, I don't know if my internet is working well or if people can hear me, but I agree with what you're saying, Viz, with what you're saying, Viz. But we're saying two totally different things. You're talking about what people are saying, and I'm talking about what people are seeing and doing. Again, you're talking about what we see versus when people leave. Oh, she can leave you. Oh, it's going to be a divorce. No, we need to hear that. No, it was effed up and it worked out. That's what we need to hear. We don't need to hear like, oh, it was effed up and we left each other and it went bad. We was in divorce court. No, we need to hear it was effed up. It worked out. She did some bullshit and it worked out. He did some bullshit and it worked out. That's what we need to hear.
Do you know a good amount of couples, of married couples that's been together for some years?
I don't know what you consider a good amount, but I know a few.
At least 10 years.
No, I mean a good amount of couples. I know a few couples that have been together for a while. Yes.
And they've never shared that with you.
How can I put it? Maybe not without asking. So no, to answer your question, no. In mass, no, they haven't.
But when you asked them, they told you.
They keep it most of the time. They keep it real vague. To be honest,
I mean, of course, it's their marriage.
But see, that's the point. But that's what I'm saying, though. It's cool.
Yeah.
Of course, you keep it real vague. But the thing is, of course, it's their marriage. But what I'm saying is, bro, I'm not saying we need to be telling people, oh, marriage is messed up. We shouldn't get married. And you're going to go through hard times and just leave. I'm saying we need to stop telling people that you need to get happy. You need to be happy in your marriage and your marriage is going to be happy and y'all going to be good. No, you need to know that sometimes it's going to be effed up.
Who's not telling you that though, bro?
But
the thing is, I know that. I'm talking about
that goes down to what I was saying though. What I was saying is you spread the love. Spreading the love isn't always yes, it's gonna be peachy creams and we're gonna go get married and sip ice cream all day. No, you could still
so when you say spread the love,
wait, hold on. Yeah, well, you could still tell the truth and be honest about what's going on if that's what you want to do, but then also explain how you got through it, because just saying this, we didn't get this for a week but we made it out, doesn't give any context as to how you made it out, which is why I said we could maybe teach and share some things about how we're getting out of these situations, or hey, if you ever find yourself here, this is some of the things that I did that worked for me. That is in a loving way. You're not just bashing marriage the whole time. And
you're still talking about getting out. You're still talking about getting out though.
No, I'm not talking about getting out. I'm talking about how we got through it. That is what I'm talking about. I'm saying, hey, this was the problem. This is how we solved it. Now you can take what I say for face value, or you can tweak it however you need to be tweaked. But especially this younger generations and people you may know, it is best to go off of experience. But also, if you're going to ever see a problem in life, always make sure you have a solution behind it.
Well, this kind of piggybacks off the conversation that we was having yesterday on King's Talk. Men and women individually, you should have some type of mentor. When you get engaged as a couple, you should have a mentor in a relationship with a married couple. Your support system. We're now so individualized that we don't want to have the conversations. We don't want to go out and search for someone to be able to reach out to get this information from. It when you change your circle, these conversations are damn near normal. Like this, but if you're only around people that has this toxic concept, and they have conversations how we see with Michelle and Ross. It's like, you look who you're getting your information from, so you're only going to regurgitate that. So I think that there's plenty of people that's telling you, man, hey, look, marriage is tough. I've heard that my entire life. Marriage is tough. It's work. It's not easy. It's not going to be peaches and cream every day.
I think that you guys are dismissing what Coel is trying to convey. What I heard from what he said, because you guys all made valid points, is that there's not enough detail in laying the landscape of what you may endure. I've been around married couples my whole life. I can overwhelmingly tell you they put up a facade, and then months or years later they're divorced and nobody know why, because there's not enough of transparency being told that yes, you're gonna wake up some days you ain't gonna like that person. You're gonna have, when you have kids, it's gonna shift, the sex may diminish, whatever. Our community is not that honest, and I think we need to be a little bit more honest. We like to.
True. You've never heard that. The two things you just said, you've never heard that before.
I've never heard those things. No, I've never heard them. I've the privilege I've had of knowing what goes on sometimes in these relationships is that my mom and dad do marriage counseling and whatnot. And they'll convey to me that these couples are battling these demons or whatever. But the couples, you would never know anything is going on because they're not transparent like that. There's a lot of pride we present. Yes, you'll hear marriage is hard. You'll hear marriage takes work. That's about it.
The two things that you just stated, I've heard that countless of times.
What? That marriage is hard and that marriage takes work?
No, when kids are involved, the sex will start going down the drain.
That's still vague.
Some days you'll wake up and you'll hate this mark. Like that.
But nobody is saying, hey,
y'all keep saying, hey, what do you want to know? How many times you getting it a week? Is that what you want?
No. What I'm saying, I'm about to give you an example. No woman is telling these ladies, hey, my husband cheated on me 10 times 15 years ago, and we're happy now 15 years later. No man is telling young men that, hey, my wife cheated on me.
Bro,
right?
You need to change your circle, bro.
What do you, bro? I'm talking.
Listen, at the same time, it's no one's business. It's no one's business.
Hold on. If that's what you just said, Kelly, if that's the point, then don't tell nobody when it's good.
What I'm saying is, no. If we're gonna place it.
Hold on, y'all. One mic. We talking to each other. We can't hear each other, y'all. One mic.
I'm about to be finished, and then to Viz's point. Damn. Go ahead, man. My bad.
Yeah, you lost it. I got you, buddy. I got you. So,
hey, hold on.
I've shared many a time.
Hold on one second. Let me go get Miss Taken in there because Miss Taken haven't said nothing. Then I'll come back to you.
I think going back to the question, it has something to do with shaming women into prioritizing marriage, something along those lines. One of the things, especially after listening to everyone speak and just kind of thinking about language and how we speak. And one of the things that I noticed, and I'm gonna just say Black community, just because I'm not in other communities like that to really speak on it, right? Is that and I had to write this down. So why do we tend to lean to negative language to shape behavior, or negative actions to shape behavior, right? So instead of shaming women, why aren't we encouraging women, right? Because those are going to yield two different outcomes in the way that the message is being told or sold, should I say. So when you encourage a woman to do it, to be married, it's more along the lines of you're teaching them to value it, right? So teaching them to value marriage has a whole different mindset than trying to shame them into doing something, because ultimately what it's doing is it actually impact their own self-value, thinking that they have to be tied to a man in order to be valued, right? To have some value. So that was something that I thought about. And then I just thought that the method matters just as much as the message. So when we look at behavior, just in general, shaping behavior, yes, you can shape behavior with negative actions, but a lot of times those negative actions multiply into something else that's negative, right? And I think that's why now we see all of the toxic interactions that we have with each other and just communicating and talking, because it's such negative language that we have a tendency to use, and we've grown accustomed to that. So I think in order to value something, you need to present it as valuable. So that was all I kind of wanted to say about that, because sitting back and kind of listening, which I'm learning to do more of in these spaces, and I'm here seeing that my ears being tuned a whole different way by just listening, right? And that's kind of every single question that was answered a lot of time or asked, that the initial answer always started with something negative. And I think we need to be more mindful of how we say what we say, because it does matter. That's it.
Hey, True, I seen you shaking your head. Do you agree with what Ms. Taken is saying?
I think that what Ms. Taken said is very, very fruitful. And if I tie it all together in the way it digested in my mind, it's a collaboration. I do think that when there's a speech being delivered by a male, it tends to come across a little bit more abrasive at times. I think that's just sometimes our normal way of communicating. I've talked to women about this. Sometimes you see Hink do it all the time. He jabs at gosh, what's that dude's name? He slipped my mind. Forgive me. But we do it as males, that we'll poke at each other. And that's how we show, in a sense, love. And sometimes when we're addressing certain issues, we tend to think about the protection, the preventative measure of something. So I can see how it may come across particularly negative. I do agree that she said that you should work on encouragement, but I think that you have to do both. I think that the shame associated should be that this is what could occur in your life if you don't choose this, if you do this, which could be a certain way of shaming. Also with the encouragement. So I think it's both, honestly.
Something to add to it as well is I think it may be difficult for some folks to shame them because they have convinced themselves that the way that they're living their life and what they're doing is the correct way. Like they don't see anything wrong with it. So you wouldn't be shaming it because they're no longer viewing it the same way that you do, or how majority of people may want to view it. And it's kind of similar to like with men in marriage, right? Like some men just don't see the value in marriage, but folks that believe in marriage, they see the value in it. And so when they're speaking so passionate about it, but it's still not registering. Like there are women that have been conditioned to no longer value marriage, to no longer value men, and we see that, right? Well, if they do value men, they only value the man that they chose to be with, and everybody else, like they just don't really see no value in, or they're preaching a message that men need to do this, men need to do that, but it doesn't transition into their household. So hopefully I'm making sense of what I'm saying is that they're not going to look at it as shame. They're going to look at it as an attack.
So what do y'all mean exactly by shaming?
Like what I meant by it is that I'll take it off a relationship just for a second. There are certain things that we assume should be met at a certain age. You're 18, you should have a driver's license if you live somewhere that allows you to drive. You're 30, you probably should be living on your own to some degree. There is an associated energy societally with shame that if you have not met these markers, something wrong. It's the same thing with relationship. So I think that should still be applied. That this used to happen. You used to go around families, they ask questions. Hey, baby girl, you 32 years old. What happened to Johnny? Like and on the adverse, it's the same thing. You show up to the family parties every year by yourself, or it's a new girl as a young man. They like, oh, how long y'all been rocking? You gonna marry her? Like, so that could be encouraging, but it could also have some shame applied to it. Yeah.
So
the other thing that I was going to say, which actually ties back, I think, a little bit to your previous question. So both of those kind of tie into each other in regards to something that you said about not being like complete if you're not in a relationship or something like that, something along those lines. Is that I think even that mindset actually encourages or shames women and men maybe into marrying people that they should not be with. Because when you are saying that you are not complete without another person, means that you're seeking somebody to fulfill you, right? It is the assumption that you're not whole without having this other person. And so therefore, in order for you to be complete, you need to find this other person. And so I don't think that that's the messaging. I think part of the messaging around like being alone, like you can be alone but not lonely. Like we've had that conversation before. But marriage is not the completion, right? Getting married isn't the completion, because you can have two broken people that get married, and that marriage is not going to complete what's broken, right? So you already have to show up whole in a marriage. Now, I do agree with what True Table was saying about marriage does have a tendency to shape you, because you're with someone else that's kind of like a mirror that reflects, you know, things that you need to change about yourself. It'll challenge you in areas that you didn't know you need challenging in. But I don't think marriage is the only thing that can do that. All your relationships should be doing that. Like my bestie, she challenges and shapes me in ways that's very different than what my husband might. Or actually, this being on these panels in these spaces is a different kind of relationship, but it has made me think about things very differently. So it's
Can I
just
ask you a question?
relation. Let me finish.
My fault.
So I just think that it's relationship in general. Man are not meant to be alone. We are a communal, you know, species, but it does not mean that you need a marriage in order to be complete, because then that says those people who didn't get married are not valuable or they're not complete, and that's not true, right? Their purpose may be very different from yours. And so it doesn't make their purpose any less valuable because their purpose isn't in marriage. If that makes sense. But go ahead, Coyle.
Now, I was just gonna ask you, then what do women want? If they don't, if they don't want marriage, if they don't look to family as something to strive for, or it's, I don't want to say the end goal, but yeah, the end goal, because from my experience, that's how men look at it. Men look at, all right, bet throughout my life, I'm a accrue these finances, I'm gonna get a better job, I'm gonna get a career so I could eventually have a wife and have some kids. Most men, that's just what we want. That's what we strive for. If that's not what women want, what do y'all want?
Okay, we got some women on the panel. Let's go ahead and ask them. I think that's an excellent question.
Not a
because we-
single person does not
we
want to
do
get
have
married.
some women that have grown kids. And so if their kids are grown, then what is it that they're looking for? What is it that they want? So let's get Casey, Aisha, Kelly, and answer that question.
Well, first and foremost, I think that any person wants to fulfill their purpose. If you believe in God, you want to fulfill God's purpose for you. And so I feel like that starts with you fulfilling things individually before you go into a marriage. And I know we spoke about how women should be shamed into marriage and things like that, but I also feel like you have an obligation to fulfill certain things for yourself, your family, and for God before you indulge into a marriage. And if you're not satisfied with yourself, it's going to be very hard for you to be satisfied with a partner, being married, having kids, whatever. And also, as women, we understand that our duty as women is to be, to give birth to children and to be a wife and to be a nurturer. And I understand that when I make that choice, and that's when we go into being choiceful women, when I make that decision to engage in the familial aspect, I have to sacrifice my life, my business, my whatever, in order to fulfill that role. And so I feel like first and foremost, women want to fulfill their purpose. And second of all, women want to be happy and to be loved, but that does not mean that you're just going to settle for any and everybody. You have choices.
Okay, so before the other woman go. And the thing is, I want to differentiate that is men feel like the family is their purpose. But I'm gonna shut up and let the other woman go.
Go ahead, Ish.
The question was, what do women want?
What do
Yeah.
women want?
If what do women want? If men collectively in general look forward to marriage and raising a family and saying, okay, I want to be the man of the house and raise a family and have that's their end goal. Miss Taken said that may not be what women want. So what do women want? Is what I'm asking.
I think that women.
Wait, can I just clarify what he said?
Please.
I did not say that women don't want marriage. I mean, of course, there are some that don't. What I said was marriage does not complete them. And those are two different things.
I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
But see, go ahead. Let me differentiate. But having a family and being a leader is the thing that completes a man, though. So that's what I'm asking. What if that's not what completes y'all, having a family and being there for your husband and children? What completes y'all? Because that's what completes us. And I think that is where the signals are getting crossed at. So,
I want to clarify something. There is a difference between feeling complete in a relationship and feeling complete within oneself. If I come to you with a load of baggage, right, and I expect you to cater to my traumas, my needs, my whatever it is that I got going on, and anything that I had in my past before you, now I'm treating you like dirt. Is that fair? No, it's not. So if I come to you, fuck what the other guy did to me, I'm not with him no more. So now you're someone different. Now I got to unlearn certain things, but you can only get to that point in your mind or at when you reach a certain mature level. You can't. What Miss Taken is saying is, you can't just get from one relationship and go straight to the next, expecting that whatever the person you're with is going to heal whatever happened to you in the past. Only you are capable of doing that. And when you get into a relationship, then it's to be that. But you don't ever want to go into a relationship with your cup half full and then expecting someone else to fill it for you. It's not fair, realistic.
That's not the. I asked what the women want.
Aisha to answer that question to you guys.
I think that what completes me is the same thing that Kual said would complete a man, like having the full circle, having my husband, my kids, like the family unit. I feel like that makes me feel complete as far as my family, but I also agree with Callie. I do think that you also have to be whole within yourself. I know that people always say 50-50 go together, but I'm like, I want to be 100. I need him to be 100, and then we can both come together. So I think my overall goal and the goal of most of women is to have a successful marriage, beautiful children, and raise a family. I don't see why that wouldn't be the goal. Like, what you think the end goal would be for us to be lonely, bitter cat women? Like, nobody wants to live that life. I don't know people who do.
But Miss Taken said that's not what makes most women complete, or may not make most women complete. Let me not put words in her mouth and make.
I just don't know anybody who doesn't feel that makes them complete. Like, I guess I hang around a lot of people that are in relationships and are married, but I hear women say, like, that's not all I need, and it's gonna take more than love. But it's just like when you start digging and be like, okay, well, what else do you want? It's always some BS.
Well, some always say is that, some always says that I don't think that women come off saying that they want to be alone. I think that they've gone through some things, and that may just be their mindset. That's a conclusion that they come to, because in order to go through or overcome trauma, you got to get uncomfortable. And a lot of folks don't want to get uncomfortable in life. And so what you hear is a lot of fear talk. Like, I've talking to a few women over the past week or so, and I've had to highlight that I hear a lot of fear talk. But it takes me back to what I said. You can say that, and they're going to have an excuse. They're going to have a reason. as to why I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm on the outside looking at you. And sometimes when you are that person speaking, you don't realize how you come off and how you sound. So I think it's going to be an impossible mission for a lot of people because we asking the question, like, what completes that person? I don't think that they know what completes them because they got all these barriers and all these layers of what they're not going to do, of what they need. You're never going to find that. And so you're going to have to, I wouldn't say settle, but I think that you're going to have to live in reality and understand that relationships are complicated. They're difficult. You got to wake up every day and choose to be involved, to be in tune with this relationship. And so based off their traumas, like they're like resisting it. Like they know what comes with relationships. Like they don't know how to put it all together. And you may see that in Tracy Ellis. Like she's dating younger. She's trying to figure because she's going to have more leverage, more control, but she still has yet to marry. I think people desire marriage, but I think that because of their traumatic experiences, they don't have the capabilities of actually being emotionally mature enough to be able to go at it again. And so they find themselves just circling back. Dated this person, gave up the box. It didn't work. Then they go and do it again. Then they go and do it again. And they go and do it again. And by the time they're age 40, they have all this baggage. And you even see some men do it too. Like men that have been hurt, they have all this baggage that they build up and they're unloading on people. And they just can't really live in the reality of understanding how relationships work. It's us that overcomplicate relationships. Relationships are not that complicated. Even if you look at life have a lot of formulas. And once you figure out like the variables and how these formulas work, it's simple. All you have to do is X, Y, and Z, and you will have a successful relationship. But because you can't get your emotions together, it's chaos.
Yeah, I think marriage
I
does
said it
complete
earlier,
people.
talking about marriage. I mean, look, like I said, most people are selfish and lazy. They not willing to put that work in, man. Again, it's 365 days. It doesn't stop. So, I don't know what transparency how much transparency you are looking for from somebody who's married or anything like. I don't, because it depends on where you're looking at, and maybe you're not asking the right people. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you need to first look at home. So your first resource should be your parents. If they're not around, maybe a grandparents, maybe an uncle, or somebody that you have a close relationship with. Man, you go in a barbershop, you're gonna hear about marriage and how relationships on the regular. That's all you talk about. You listen on these panels, dude. When you hear some of these talk about women, some of these dudes are talking about their wives. They're not talking about past girlfriends. They talk about current wives and what they're dealing with right now. They may not use their name because they don't want to implicate her, but that's what they're talking about. What they have to do with their wife. They say, "Oh no, man, yeah, this girl back in there." No, you talking about your goddamn wife, dog. That's exactly who you talking about. Well, you want to say it right out or not? You talking about your wife? She's whooping your ass, and you just being okay with it. That's on you. Talking about I used to be a simp. No, you currently simp now, and that's okay. You can never call a married man a simp. That makes no sense to me. Why do y'all do that? But that's way people try to do and shame marriage. Do these people really want marriage? Because if you really want, only thing you have to do is go to right channels, right, put yourself in right circles and set yourself around right people, and they will have a conversation. But I'm not gonna just sit there openly and just talk bad about my wife in front of everybody. Why would I do that? That makes no sense. Now, if I have a relationship with you, I know how you move and how you operate, how you act, then I more than likely will have a conversation because we have that type of relationship. I know you're gonna keep it close to the vest and you're not go out there and tell every time Dick and Harry. But if I know you like one of them gossiping ass dude, why would I tell you any goddamn thing? So people, you got to protect your wife, you got to protect your marriage, you got to protect your family.
I totally understand that. I think it's two things that should be said to people. Man, you're gonna have to work every day of your life to support your family. No days off, man. Maybe Sunday, maybe Saturday and Sunday. That's the hard reality. Because these men and boys are lazy. So to help them, the hard reality is you're gonna work every day for the rest of your life, bro. That's it. And for women, sorry, your husband may cheat on you one day, maybe one time, maybe 5 times. But So it's gonna happen. I don't think nobody's gonna be married for 30 years. Nobody's married for 30. I don't think any man is married for 30 years and hasn't cheated on his wife. You understand what I'm saying? So any type of capacity. I mean, I'm just being honest, in any type of capacity. You understand what I'm saying? And if we can get to that point of being honest to let them know what marriage come with, then people will be in marriages, because people have this ideology. Oh, I'm not gonna deal with that. Oh, I'm not gonna deal with this. Oh no, I'm not gonna deal with that. But if they know that no matter who you with, where you at, this is what's gonna come with the marriage, they gonna stay in it. They keep leaving because they think that they could get it somewhere else. And people was keeping it close knit. Like Hink said, he not gonna make his wife look bad. I totally understand that. And I get it. But people need to know that bad things is gonna happen and it's gonna be okay in 5 years. You understand what I'm saying? Not bad things gonna happen and we gonna split up. But bad things is gonna happen and it's gonna be okay in 5 years. It is what it is.
Yeah, no,
Bro,
I think
talk about it on here all the time.
you
I talked
ignore
about it
everything
with
he
Aisha
just
and them.
said, bro.
I talk about it all the time. I said there's gonna be peaks and valleys. There's gonna be times where your wife may make more money than you.
Bro, peaks and valleys, bro. That's not telling people nothing, dog.
But at the end of the day,
I get what you're saying.
Again, you again not listening to nothing that he said, bro. If he doesn't know you, this is exactly why I said you need to get in a circle.
I'm not talking about me. I'm just, bro. People that come here.
If you're not talking about you keep bringing it up. So I'm addressing what it is that you're bringing up. So if anybody out there in the world that Coel is using as a reference or an example, if you want to understand and learn what is happening in marriages, you need to find couples that are married and they are willing to take you under their wing if you ever need support. It's a very, very simple logic. Now, I'm gonna say this. I think that we do, that man and woman are fully complete when you find your person, simply because of the reason why mistaken use. When you're dealing with this person and you made this vow to them, this person is your reflection of who it is, because they know exactly who you are. It's not going to be the same thing as your girlfriend or one of the guys or something like that. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same effect, because you're not intimate with this person, with someone outside of your marriage. This person isn't pouring into you and you're pouring into them. You're exposed to their hard days and the great days. So I think that you are fully complete and whole when you find that person and you marry them. And this is a healthy, successful relationship that you guys want to constantly pour into each other. Now, I also want to address something that Aisha said. I think that when we go into marriages or relationships expecting for a person to be at 100, that's unrealistic. Nobody is going to be at 100. You're not at 100. I'm not at 100. Nobody is at 100 when you meet another person. You get to 100 by putting in the work, and again, being able to look in the mirror and say, okay, this is my strong points. These are my weak points. This person that I choose, this is my yin to the yang. So that's when I believe that you fully become 100, because you're not going to get there before that. You're going to have all of these excuses and people making up different names and titles and all this other shit as to why they can't find a person or to be married to.
Viz, the only pushback I have to that, because I know you are a religious man, right?
That's not even coming from a religious.
No, I know. What I'm about to say is, so Jesus was single, never got married. He was the perfect man without being married, right? And the reason I'm using this is because I know that you have brought up like religion before, right? So and I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm some theologian, because I'm really not. But also within the Bible, he also preached about singleness, and Paul was also single, right? And just saying that sometimes being in
I gotta
relationship
take a piss.
is oh shoot is a distraction.
No, my mic was on. My bad.
Is a distraction to serving his purpose, right? So my point being that marriage is absolutely a gift. So don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, everybody should be single. That's not everybody's calling. So my point being is if you weren't called to be married, which I do know, like my aunt, she's never been married, but for her, I guess, what her purpose was to serve her parents. Over the years, since she wasn't the one that was married, a lot had happened to my grandparents, and she was there to serve them, right?
Or was that a reason for her to not get married?
I can't tell you what God's purpose was for her. I have no idea. That wasn't my,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I have no idea.
What's
So
up?
and so my point being is that I don't want people to think that if they are not married, that they are less than, and that they don't have a purpose for their life outside of being with a partner. You understand what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
all.
no, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that. I've never said that. Now, I think it's interesting when people use Jesus, of course, and especially Paul. There's it has been questioned for generations if Jesus was actually married or not, right? Who the powers to be, the people that wanted to control it, they made sure, as far as from what we know, 2,000 years ago, Jesus wasn't married.
No, he wasn't.
We don't know for sure.
Right.
Now, as far as with Paul never got married because of what it was that he was doing. He couldn't take a wife on the road to go and slaughter Christians and then to go and preach the gospel. So I think that I get what you're saying, but I think that
I don't know. Were any of the other 12 disciples married?
I don't think so.
You talking about 12 people that had a specific calling from the Lord.
And that's my point. Now. That's exactly my point. Everybody's purpose is not marriage.
That's not general. That's not the general person. We're talking about come on now.
My point.
And the thing is that and the problem is, no fault to you, mistaken. I love the takes that you give on here, no pun intended. But this is what be effing it up when we have these conversations. Then a married woman come on here talking about how it's cool to be single. Like nobody cares about Jesus and how it's cool to be single. My thing is, if that's not even your MO, why even bring it up? Because and the thing is, you do it a lot. You'd be like, you would say somebody will make a point, and then you will try to bring up an opposing point, and then act like that's not the point you're trying to make. Because if that's the point you was trying to make, you would look like a bad person. But stop it. You literally just said you brought up Jesus to make a point to where it's cool to be single. And you're married. You're a married woman. The thing is, we don't need married. People know that it's okay to be single.
You don't know what we need.
You're negating
your point. Hold on. You are giving your point and your positions about how you feel about about this discussion. Do not feel the need to check me or correct me about my opinion. That is my opinion. And you cannot tell me.
First of all, you ain't my mama. I was about to let you talk. Relax, baby.
Yeah, let's make sure we remain respectful, y'all. Come on.
I wasn't even about to say nothing.
Period.
Yeah,
JR,
she married, bro. You can't call her
not
baby.
talking a whole lot this show. I have not. And Coyle, you've been giving some good points. I've been listening. I have never interrupted you. I haven't said anything. So there is a when you say don't say what I'm saying, being in the position that I'm in, that doesn't make sense to me. I still have an opinion. And yes, I can say what I say because I have people in my life that are single. So
See, I didn't say you couldn't. I didn't say you couldn't say that. I said the problem is we have married people that's come on here and said it's okay to be single, and then that's the thing with women. Just like you said, people that's single. The thing is with women, everybody gets a trophy. So since I know people that's single, they may be watching. I don't want them to feel bad, so I'm gonna let them feel included instead of telling the truth. I get it.
That wasn't my intent. If that was how you felt and you took that, keep that to yourself, and don't try to put that on me, because that wasn't what I was doing. I was giving my opinion, and that was it. Just like I let you give your opinion, I didn't interject, I didn't contradict your opinion. I listened to it, and that was it.
Well, the thing is, you chose not to interject or contradict my opinion. That's what we're on a panel to. So don't tell me to keep it to myself. If I feel like you're wrong, I'm gonna say that.
All of us are not here to share the same opinion. That's the whole purpose of all of us being different individuals, because we're coming with different lenses, different experiences, and can give advice or our opinion that's going to resonate with some and maybe not others. So it wasn't my purpose to be on here to tell you that what you're saying, you shouldn't be saying, because it's not going to resonate with other people. That's not your point. Your point is for you to say what you need to say, and whoever that connects with, that's who it connects with. So to tell me not to say what I'm saying because you think that I'm trying to make other people not feel bad, when that wasn't even my purpose. That was just my opinion, and my opinion alone. That's it.
Well, it's not about, and I do apologize if you were offended, but it wasn't about trying to agree with me or going with my perspective. It was about coming from a married person, no matter who it is. I don't think it's just helpful for the community. So I'm not saying that you can't say that, or that may not be your perspective, but it's just not helpful for our community when we're talking about marriages and we want to keep families together, to just come out of nowhere to bring up Jesus from 2,000 years ago, who was single, to bring up a point to say people can be single, and then say, well, I'm not saying people should be single, but so that's all I was saying. It's okay.
But it's also not healthy to say, to sit there and say, oh, well, hey, the truth is you're probably going to get cheated on 5 million times, and no one's probably ever going to be faithful to you. So there's a bunch of stuff that a lot of people have said that someone might find helpful, might not find helpful. At the end of the end of the day, you know what's helpful? True. But no, what's true? Listen, the truth. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. The truth is what Hank has stated, that you're going to go through trials and tribulations. I cannot tell you what your trial and tribulation will be, but this is some of the things that you could do to be aware of it and stay logical during this process. And that is what's not being done. I could talk to you, Coyle, about the situation all day, but if I don't give you solutions on how to fix that shit, we all gonna be running around with our chicken like a chicken with its head cut off. And I got nothing to do with the price of chicken in China either. Exactly. Doesn't make any sense. We got to stop focusing on the problem in our lives, start focusing on solutions. What is going to get this relationship lasting long? If he cheats, bring up a solution. If he doesn't cheat and you're just mad he lost his job, here's a solution. Stop focusing on the problem. Focus on the solution.
That was my point. That was my point.
The solution is, go ahead, True. Go ahead, True. I know you've been trying to jump in.
All right. So yeah, maybe I appreciate how Coel delivered it. I'm gonna speak for me personally, because again, I'm gonna double down. I think you guys glossed over his point. Hink made a very good point, which is relevant. So did Viz. I think it's important to know who you're talking to. There are some people who need details. There's some people who need transparency. Peaks and valleys may sum it up for you. That may be how you digest information. But I think that there's too much representation of marriage, and then it stops, and then there's no development. there are things that are going to occur. I appreciate the fact that this brother said that 30-year span, you may have infidelity. That may occur. And I think we're trying to like, oh, well, you shouldn't speak to that. No, you should speak to that. There was a conversation me and Biz was having a few weeks ago about being entrepreneurs and how so many people married to the idea of wanting to be an entrepreneur. But when you tell them, yo, you got to kill, you eat what you kill. It ain't easy. This crap is going to have, different variables that are going to be harder. You may just want to keep a job, and then you go into detail. So you can't always just particularly paint it so vague and then be like, oh, well, I got to trust you to be able to be honest. That's nonsense. So many times the couples do not speak to the raw of what a relationship is, to the hurt of what a relationship is. And I've seen just people kind of diminish this young man in the way he's delivering it, saying it's problematic. I don't think it's problematic. There's so many women that I've encountered that have never heard truth. So when they get into a relationship and pressure arises, they fold. They think they're always and forever. They think he's not going to lie to me. They think that it's always going to be a job. It's always going to be benefits. It ain't rainbows and freaking sunshine all the time. So I believe that there's room for that too.
And I'll say this.
But
I'm going to say this.
Calvin.
There's always people. Never once do we get into these relationships. Every time I hang out with my girlfriends, they're always talking about what the hell is going on and give me details I don't even want to freaking know about. You go to beauty shops, it's the same thing. Women are the biggest gossipers. Women will tell a woman exactly what they're going through and when, but it's her choice to do so. At the same time, we got to also, if we're going to hold these people accountable to speak up and shit like that, we also have to hold ourselves accountable to be able to take a spade when it's a spade. I shouldn't have to consistently tell you about something for you to get the message. I should be able to say something and you formulate, because at the end of the day, I might be telling you some bullshit. And I might be telling you something that you probably will never even have to deal with, or telling you something that could be detrimental to what you could achieve in your life or in your marriage.
No, that's fair, Callie. I was trying to give credence to what Coel said. I believe what he said was valuable, as everybody on the panel thus far has said. But I have personally been on the receiving side that I would love to see more transparency, not from even Hink's point to diminish your wife or bring any shame or unnecessary eyes to your relationship. But I think that a lot of people live in delusion, male and female, sometimes more female than male in some cases. And when pressure arises or conditions arise, the reason why they're shocked is because they never heard this crap. No one's ever told them, yo, you baby girl, you may deal with some stuff. So that's just the way he delivers it. Me personally, I appreciate that. Honestly.
Well, true. I think to me, and of course, everyone communicates differently. Everyone intakes information differently, right? I think across the board, be it with relationships or even entrepreneurship, right? It's a very simple thing. In relationship, in a marriage, you have to want to make this work. You have to want to be able to have these hard and difficult conversations. You have to want to be able to accept, if she don't want to talk to me for 3 days, then you know what? I just got to give her a space. The same way in entrepreneurship, you have to want to get out of that rut. You have to want to be able to sit through this season of where there's no crops. You know what I'm saying? You have to want to be able to make it through all of those barriers that's going to slow you down. So when we say, well, how did you do it? That's going to look different for every couple. That's going to look different for every person. So again, to expect for it to be some type of magic formula, it's not. It comes from grit. It comes from putting the work in, the tears, the bloodshed and tears across the board. I think that we're overcomplicating something that is so extremely simple. It's a very simple formula to follow across the board. Again, in entrepreneurship, every successful person that you listen to in an interview, they're all going to say the same thing. Every successful marriage, they're all going to say the same thing, is that, you know what? We had to sit down and realize, like, hey, we got to figure this out. What we're doing right now isn't working. Same in entrepreneurship. Man, sales are declining. What the fuck am I doing wrong? It takes for you to look in the mirror and figure out, am I supposed to be marching through this, or is this a time for us to sit still in it? And I think that's the simple formula that we're trying to complicate, and it makes no sense, in my opinion, to do that.
But the thing about it is, though, I don't know, you trying to get this stuff off from people off the panel. Do you think these people on the panel are always going to be honest and upfront and straightforward with you now? More than likely they're not. So that's why I sit there and say you need to go to your closest resource, people who you can actually see and touch and talk to, and have that type of conversation with those people, your parents, your family members, close friends that you have surround. Do you surround yourself with married couples? Look, I don't hang out with single people. I don't. Me and my wife does not hang out with single people because there's no need for us. What can they give us? What can we learn from a single person? Little to nothing. On how to be single, I don't need to know how to learn how to do it. I know how to do that. I fucked that up before already in my previous marriage. I don't need to learn how to do that again. So you need to surround yourself with people who what you want to be. You want to be married? Surround yourself with married people. Ask people, married people who you can trust and you can rely on questions. You expecting to get it on these panels? Now, not everybody's going to be straightforward and honest with you. Not everybody's going to tell you the raw and uncut. And so when I sit there and told you there's peaks and valleys, you sit there and what that mean? Well, Duke, I'm trying to tell you that's all part of it. Now, do you want to know actual details of peaks and valleys? Yeah, you're gonna meet some days like you said. You can't stand your wife. She gets on your goddamn nerves. You can't stand her goddamn cooking. You hated that she cooked like this, and she thought she can't cook or whatever the case may be. But guess what? You find a way to how to communicate with her. You don't have to directly say that, baby, your cooking tastes like shit. Yeah, baby, I like it's all right, but I like it when you cook it this way better. I'll leave it
So
there.
now I understand that, and the thing is, I wasn't necessarily just speaking on like my knowledge. I'm just speaking about the things that we teach the people around us. So even in, I was speaking about in our personal life, individually, or people out there, we should teach them or be talking about. I won't even say be talking about, but we should let them know that these bad things are going to happen. And I won't say these bad because that do sound messed up, but these things are going to happen, and you should stay together. Bro, she's going to do this. Y'all should stay together no matter what. Hey, Miss Lady, he's going to do this. Y'all should stay together no matter what, unless, you know, it's a few things that people do, and that's that. But yeah, I wasn't necessarily saying talk about the bad and lean on that. I'm saying let people know that the bad exists. And the thing is what Hank said, like, and that's what we always get from married people. Oh, you don't like her cooking? Oh, that's always them small problems, bro. People need to know that them big problems is gonna happen. And they need, I'm not saying that, I don't know. I'm not saying nobody on the panel need to tell anybody else on this panel that. I'm talking about in our personal lives. If a young man come to one of us, we need to tell him that. If a young lady come to them, we need to tell them that. That's all I'm saying. And
bro, the big problems happen from ignoring the small ones.
I mean, bro, I'm not saying it doesn't. That's a micro issue. I'm just talking about what we need to tell.
That's not a micro issue.
Bro, that's what people need to deal with in their relationships. So we're not dealing with the problems in their relationships. We just need to tell people that want to get in relationships what hardships come from relationships that you stick through. That's all I'm saying. Even when you made an example, you said, oh, she ain't talked to me for 3 days. Okay, that can happen in a relationship, but you didn't say why she didn't talk to you for 3 days. That's what people need to hear. Bro, she ain't talked to me for. I'm not talking about, I don't need to hear that. You don't got to tell me or anybody on this panel. I'm just saying, like, if a young man come to you.
Question, and I'm gonna let KC go. Cause why do you need to know why she's not talking to him?
Because a man needs to know that this may happen. And okay, but all right, if you did this 15 years ago with your wife and y'all stayed together, and I come to you like, bro, I just did this. I think I messed up. It's never gonna work again, man. Like, it's never gonna work again. I don't know. You've been through it 15 years ago. You did it with your wife. You know how to get through it. You could say, look, me and my wife, we 25 years in, 15 years ago, I did this. I did the same thing. This is how I got through it. That's what I mean, bro. I'm not saying, 50 years ago I did it and me and my wife was on bad terms and I left. Like, no, bro.
Coel, I don't know if I'm not saying it properly, but again, this is for you and every man and woman that's out in the internet world right now. You have to find someone, a couple that you trust, and get under their wing. That's the only way that you're going to get that information. You're asking for the details. You can't expect for people to get on these panels.
I'm
on
not
the
asking
internet.
for the details
But
from
that-
y'all.
but
I'm
that-
saying
that- that's
we need
what
to get
that's what it.
out
Let
to
me
people.
finish talking, bro.
Bro, go ahead, bro.
I'm saying every time I try to talk, you keep over talking me, bro. I let you talk.
Bro, I let you talk all the time. I agree with what you're saying,
Casey,
bro.
go ahead.
Okay, so I feel like we've gone in circles over this same conversation of details and knowing the good and bad and the ups and downs of marriage. And at the end of the day, those conversations happen, or a lot of people get their information when they have good role models of what a happy marriage looks like, or what a marriage looks like in general. It doesn't have to be good, bad, or otherwise. You understand that there are ups and downs in relationships when you do have an example of a marriage period in your life. And so me coming from a 2-parent home, and knowing the ups and downs of a marriage, I understand what I'm looking at, or what I'm, getting myself into when I do choose to get married. I think a lot of times people don't have that role model or example, and they go out into this world lost and confused on what a marriage is supposed to be, and expect it's supposed to be all flowers and rainbows. And that's not the case. And when you come from people, or you have an idea of what a true, genuine marriage looks like, you don't have that impression. And so you're not jumping into a marriage getting divorced in a year, because you've already had an example of the hard times in a marriage. And I think that we can stop going in circles over this perspective of what are the details of a marriage, and you have to tell people, and you have to shame people, and you have to do this. When people have examples, or when people have knowledge of what marriage really is and what it entails, they know what they're signing up for, and they know when they individually are ready to make that decision. Simple.
All right. Let me get to these super chats. I see True Table over there. He disagreed with somebody. He's just trying to be reserved right now. Big Guy 11, $10 says, Hink, did you just call Big Mommy a dumbass? We fighting, bro. Into the Black Dragon, $2 says, what qualities do you bring to earn a good man? The Will with the $9.99. Tracy just made the term partner clear for me. I get to do what I want, and he'll always going to co-sign. Luis is right. She just a cuckold partner. Cuckold. Thanks, Tracy, for the clarification. Into the Black Dragon, $5 says, I was 41 and she was 21. She approached, we talked, got along, started dating. It's a complete energy exchange. She became more mature. I became more youthful. The Will with the 499. Here's how you make it through rough spots in your relationships. Selflessness, reciprocity, cooperation, and loyalty. Stop complicating the simple. And lastly, prophecy to savior. Also remember $10. Want a successful marriage? Simple. Look for someone who have morals and EQ, and don't live above your means. Stop spending money just to spend it. Work together, love each other. It's not rocket science. I do agree. But we got to be grateful for the people who have low IQs, because if we didn't have people that had low IQs, we wouldn't have nobody to teach. If everybody knew everything what everybody else knew, then life would probably be boring. And just to co-ill, you do have some people that are honest, maybe not necessarily on the panels that you may be on. There are a few people who have been completely honest about their mistakes. I've seen shows, like you got Charlamagne the God, I'm pretty sure he's been open. Sometimes people have to come to terms and they have to get ready to be transparent like that. And then some people are just private. But to Viz's point, whenever you do have a relationship with somebody, they're more likely to open up to you. Usually when people are having problems, they turn to somebody who they trust, or that couple that they trust, and they may run some things past them, and then that person may say, you know, I know your pain. This is what I've gone through. I don't know too many people that are just walking and just throwing their problems out there like that. It takes you have to be very secure to do things like that, and a lot of people don't feel comfortable. That's the reason why when you go on TikTok panels and X panels and clubhouse panels, you'll have people that'll be saying everything under the sun and the moon because they are faceless. And so when you have to come on the panel and show your face, it's different. A lot of people don't have the courage to be able to do the things and say the things that they would say if they was had behind a wall or avatar. So I do agree with you. I think if we had a little bit more transparency, a lot of people would get understanding. But sometimes people got to ask questions. Some people have to ask some questions. If you want to know something, ask the question. Even that dialogue that you and Ms. Taken just had, a lot of times people just blurt out things and they not really seeking to understand or seeking to get clarity. I felt like a dumbass a few times in my life, and it's because I just jump to conclusions or I assume. So one of the things that I do is I'll ask a question. I may not be tripping, but I will at least ask a question just to confirm. The more data that I have, the easier it is for me to be able to make a decision. So if I want some clarity or I need some more understanding, what did you mean by Jesus is single? What did you mean by that? Before you go off the rail. And then that way you get a little bit more clarity. Then you can go off the rail. And then if mistaken, can ask a question, well, why did you say that? Like, why do you feel the way you feel? Or you question? That's how you get understanding. If you really, because one of y'all may be wrong. Like, well, maybe both of y'all are right, but if y'all don't ask the right questions, then how y'all gonna really know? Or if y'all not listening to each other, y'all just looking to try to assassinate one another. So, I do think some people need to be shamed, but if I'm ashamed of somebody, I want to make sure I don't look like no fool. So I have children. If my son do some dumbass shit, no, I ain't fucking tripping. Let me see if he lie to me. Let me try to get some more information out of him, because if you're trying to play me for a fool, it's gonna be a little bit more trouble for him. So I asked a question. Hey, like, who ate that lobster tail in there? But I had the situation. It was one lobster tail that I was saving for the morning, and he was the only one in the house. And that fucking lobster tail it wasn't nothing in there but the shell. And when I tell you, he got some trouble. He still wouldn't admit it, man. He still wouldn't admit it. He was like some people we talk about that lack accountability, because he was lacking accountability when it came there. Don't talk about you would have thought he was Jesus the way he got torched. And he still didn't admit it. He was gonna take that one to the grave. But I made the decision in my head. I ain't stupid. I know he ate that damn lobster tail, and I had to live with it, man. But I really wanted that lobster tail. I really did. That shit was seasoned good, and it was gone. Like, just imagine opening up the refrigerator and you looking like a skeleton in there. On that note, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, man. I want to thank everybody that has blessed the platform. It's KC. I appreciate your patience tonight. I know it's your first time. Hopefully it was an enjoyable experience. Thank you, Callie, for inviting her up. Hopefully you will join us again. Khalil, I seen a lot of improvement on you tonight, brother. I seen you battling with yourself, man. But that's how it is, man. You know, you human.
I'm in cooling, bro. I wasn't even battling with myself, bro. I'm chilling.
Man, I seen you blurt and catch yourself. Like, I think we got to understand as men is that we human. So we're gonna feel some things, but controlling it before it hit the external, that's what's important, because that's when the chaos come. If you just reacting to every single thing that's going on, then you can't. Sometimes if you crash out, you can't come back from that. And so I think you able to give yourself at least options once you are able to see things with a clear head, you know, because you may be tripping, but you ain't gonna. Well, once you boil over this shit, and now you got to fix a mistake, and now you feel like a goddamn fool. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying I did see the maturity, and so it's a compliment, not a dig. And I think we all go through it, man. I used to be a firecracker when I was younger, so I know how it is. I ain't give a fuck. I ain't care what nobody said. I'm gonna say what I say. I don't care how y'all feel. But once I started to play a little bit more chess, then I felt like that's the type of control and leverage that I wanted to have. So I didn't feel less than because I didn't respond. Everything I want for a response. Some people just fools. Some people just they are who they are. I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy to argue with nobody. I ain't got the energy. I'm trying to strategically move in this world where I'm trying to maximize my life and I'm trying to enjoy it. And especially when you got some kids, man, one of the most humbling feelings is actually being able to see them grow. And one of the things that I learned, and hopefully if y'all got kids, y'all can take this. We're not doing enough as parents. I think I talked to Viz early. Like, kids really require so much of our time, more time than you think. And especially if you work in a 9 to 5 and your kids are at school and they at summer camp, you're not spending enough time with them, man. Like, kids require a lot of our time. They're a big responsibility. They didn't ask to be here. And so you need to make sure you make it a priority to be involved with them. So if they got some sports, make sure you involved with them. Make sure you practicing with them. Make sure you showing up to the games, you supporting, even when they failing. And stop trying to live your childhood through your child. If you didn't make the basketball team and you got cut, it is what it is. If your son, he just ain't good, he ain't good. If your daughter can't cheer, she keep flopping and she don't pick the weight, she probably can't be a cheerleader. It is what it is, man. But with that being said, I'm out of here, man. I've been talking a lot, and this is out my norm. So I'm going to go ahead and go back in my shell. Catch us tomorrow. We're going to allow tomorrow, the Thursday show. So see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We out.